Better guy to talk about that than our next guest, Brian Thornton, the VP for men's basketball for the Big 12, joins us now. And Brian, good morning to you. Thanks for your time. How are things?
I'm well. Good to see you.
You too. Thank you very much. Were you in Brooklyn? Were you at the draft?
I was planning on going to the draft this year, but my daughter, who's 11 years old, was playing in the nationals for volleyball. Club volleyball in Minneapolis, and her team actually won the national championship this past weekend, which was really exciting. So I was on dad duty this weekend, so we watched the draft from the house once we got back.
Very cool. You made the right choice. That's great. And what a historic draft is the word we keep using for the Big 12. 9 first-round picks and 4 more in the second round, 13 total, an all-time high. Pretty amazing, wasn't it, the Big 12 showing at the draft this year?
Yeah, and this is something we talked about all year. We kind of expected this to a certain extent, just as we kind of saw how things were playing out. Obviously, having AJ Devonta and Darren Peterson go 1-2, that's something that people were talking about the entire year, as those guys were kind of predicted to be in that position. But then when you saw some of the other guys really emerge over the course of the year, it's really a testament to what our coaches were able to do from a development and recruiting standpoint. Guys like Braden Burries, Kingston Flemings, those two guys both went in the top 10. Kingston Flemings came into college as like the number 25 ranked freshman in the country, and he became a top 10 pick. So, and Braden Burries was expected to be a very good player. I think he was a top 15 player coming into the year. But both those guys really matured and grew throughout the course of the year, and we had others across the entire league that really did the same thing.
And you're right. You guys did talk about it all year, and we talked about it. You couldn't help but miss how many great players there were in the Big 12 this past season. But does it does the message of the Big 12 kind of reach a different audience when it's on a stage like the NBA draft?
I would hope so. And, I think it does. We've continually talked about the strength of our league, how we believe that this is the second best basketball league in the country behind the NBA. And this year, I think we really proved that merit, both with the way our teams performed over the course of the year, how they performed in the NCAA tournament. And then it really culminated by seeing the kind of the star power and the quality of players that we had that were drafted in the NBA.
Pretty amazing, isn't it, to have 2 players from the same league go 1 and 2 in the NBA draft like we had this year?
Yeah, it was unique. As I said, both AJ and Darren, they've kind of been slotted in that spot for the last several years. Even when they were high school players, they were being kind of predicted to be 1-2, that jockeying position. And it really played out this year in very different ways. AJ had a fantastic year from the standpoint that he really carried BYU, deep into March and whatnot. And, led college basketball in scoring, and was playing 38, 40 minutes a game down the stretch. And he just really kind of put that on his back and really showed his durability and, his strength as a player and his versatility. And on the other hand, we probably, unfortunately, didn't get to see the very best of Darren Peterson. We saw flashes of it. And when we did, it was clear the talent level and why NBA executives have been drooling over him for the last several years. But because of some injuries and whatnot, we weren't able to fully realize it. And I've said recently that it would have been nice for those guys to match up maybe a couple more times over the course of the year, like in our conference tournament in a big matchup where they went head to head, and we could have seen kind of what that rivalry or that budding rivalry could look like for the next several years in the NBA.
Yeah, that would have been fun. And our guy, Cameron Carr, he slid a little bit from pre-draft projections, but still to get drafted by the Knicks and get traded to the Lakers, it seems like Cam Carr ended up in a good spot.
He did, and Cam he's one of my favorite kids. He's a kid I got to know pretty well over the course of this year, from spending time around the Baylor program, whether it be coming to practice or seeing you guys in Las Vegas or different places. And I just think he's a really good kid, and he's a great story. The fact that he spent time at Tennessee early on in his career, and was, fairly lightly used. I think he had 44, 48 points coming into this year as a college player. And then in his first 2 games, he was able to eclipse that at Baylor. Yeah. And then he really kept that momentum going throughout the course of the year. Obviously, he comes from great pedigree with his dad being an NBA player, but I really think he cut his own path. And that's a testament to him. It's a testament to his family that he took a chance on coming to Baylor, and it really worked out. I saw him at the NBA Combine. He was fantastic, both physically, but also, what he did, what a lot of other guys don't do, is he played in the 5-on-5 games at the NBA Combine to try to increase his draft position. It comes with some risk. If you don't play well, then you can slide down, and we saw that from several other players. But he took a chance. He played well. I think he had 30 points in the game that he played, made 6 threes, and that kind of solidified him as a first-round draft pick. And it also solidified him that he needed to stay in the NBA draft.
Brian Thornton, our guest, VP for men's basketball for the Big 12 Conference. Was this year a little bit of an anomaly? I don't think we could go into every year thinking we're going to have 9 first-round picks from the Big 12. But just with all the great freshmen who came in and all the talent in the league this year, could we expect this or something close to this year after year? Or how would you explain the way things sort of fell in place this year?
Well, I think this year we knew that there was going to be a lot of quality freshmen in the league, especially at the very top. I think we understand, even guys like Chris Senack, who ended up with the Celtics. He was a top 10 player in the country coming in this year and still was a first-round draft pick. Tunde Yesufu, who didn't end up, going through the entire draft process, but he was another high-powered freshman. So we had like 7 or 8 of the top 25 freshmen in the league coming into this year. And we're going to have quite a few of those this year as well. Arizona has one, BYU has one, Kansas obviously has Terrence Stokes and the number 1 freshman again this year. So I think we certainly can expect that we're going to have more draft picks, especially towards the top again, if these guys continue to develop. But again, I think it's a testament to our institutions. It's a testament to the investment that our programs are making and who our coaches are. We have some of the very best coaches in the entire country within the Big 12. And when you have that, people want to come play for you, and they have the ability to develop players. And many of them have a proven track record of putting guys into the NBA.
Yeah. Very well said. We talked to Coach Drew yesterday, and it was fun watching the draft, wasn't it? It looked like a Big 12 coaches meeting up there at the draft with all those guys that were there, with their players waiting to be drafted.
Yeah, it was. And it's always good to see those guys supporting their players. And, it's a little bit of an infomercial for their institutions to a certain extent when you see, whether it's Coach Drew or Coach Sampson or anybody else, they're shaking hands and giving hugs to the guys who are getting drafted. It lets other recruits know, not only are these guys real people, they're great coaches, but they're also going to be supportive influences on the young men that they're coaching. I think that it also really goes to show that, in our league, we certainly had the high-powered freshmen, which we've discussed, but there was guys that did it in a lot of different ways, that got drafted yesterday or the last couple of days from the Big 12. You had a guy like Richie Saunders, who was a 4 or 5 year guy at BYU who was drafted, who's coming off of an ACL injury, but he really showed that, if that hadn't happened, he's a bona fide first-round pick as well. He kind of had some unfortunate circumstances. Jaden Bradley, who was the player of the year in the league, did a great job at Arizona. Baba Miller, who was a guy who really emerged in the second half for Cincinnati, and he was able to be drafted. And then a guy like Emmanuel Sharp, again, a 4-year, 5-year guy who was just a worker and continued to get better year after year. You often see that in the NBA draft, is that the first round, especially at the very top, is filled with elite freshmen and younger guys. And then what you seem to find in the second round or even later in the first round are guys that are glue guys that are kind of ready-made, older guys that are hopefully ready to come in and maybe not be the face of a franchise, although it can happen, but they're there to be supporting guys and come in and fill roles, especially on teams that are already in good position.
Yeah, really good. Hey, let me ask you another question while we've got you. Big 12 spring meetings were last month. Basketball coaches were there. I think they talked about possibly going back to a 20-game conference schedule, but then settled on 18, which makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. What were some of those conversations like regarding scheduling for Big 12 teams?
Yeah, well, I will say that we have that's an ongoing conversation. That's
Okay.
not something that's been decided. Obviously, we're going to be playing 18 games for this year, for the 26-27 year, but potentially going back to a 20-game conference schedule is something that's on the table for future years, and we'll continue to have those discussions with our coaches and administrators over the coming weeks and months, and ultimately we'll make a decision that we feel like is in the best interest of the entire league. And there's a lot of reasons why we continue to have those discussions. Obviously, when you think about 2030 is our opportunity to re-enter the media market sweepstakes for our next media rights contract. And, the best position we can put our league in is to have the best value possible. Ratings matter, and conference games tend to rate a whole lot better than non-conference games do. And we're also in a world, for good reason, where NIL has become king. And a lot of the teams across the country, they're playing a lot more neutral site NIL games in order to kind of fill their coffers to support paying for their student athletes. And so that means that there's less kind of those quality traditional home and home games that you would have seen in the past. So those games are the ones that would be under conference control, where our media rights partners would have access to put those games on TV. But when you have a lot of neutral site games, you lose the ability for an ESPN, Fox, et cetera, to have those games on their broadcast network. So that's another consideration. But what's good for Baylor or what's good for Kansas or what's good for Houston might not be what's best for Cincinnati, UCF, or Utah. So we're trying to weigh and balance those things, but it's an ongoing conversation.
I got you. That's good information. And final thought, that Players Era tournament in November back in Las Vegas, Baylor will be there again. That's turned into a really big deal, hasn't it? I mean, it's growing, and the Big 12 has a stake in that now.
Yeah, we're excited about it. We've partnered with Players Era really from the beginning on just that being kind of a beacon or a way to start the college basketball season. And this year, there's going to be 24 teams. It's expanded from, I think, 8 to 18 to 24 next year. And there's even conversations about potentially going up to 32 in the following year. So we'll see where it goes. But it's kind of been that preeminent new MTE, multi-team event that kick off basketball season. And, we're excited about our teams in it. We have 8 teams in it. And it should be a really fun time in Las Vegas around Thanksgiving.
Very cool. Hey, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. I know you're busy. Congratulations to your daughter on the volleyball national championship. And I appreciate your time. We'll see you down the road.
Okay. Thanks, John. Have a great one.